Bat the Nocturne of Umbrafel. Part I, the tower beneath the moon bat. In the crag-toothed peaks of the Obsidian Mountains, far beyond where the eagles dare and deeper than dwarfen mines, stood an ancient tower few remembered and fewer dared speak of. It clung like a shadow to a jagged spire, half carved from the rock itself and half grown of dark magic and moonlight. This was Umbrafel, the tower beneath the moon, and its last known resident was a bat. Not an ordinary bat, mind you, but a Chiromagus, a wizard of the night-bound order, once human, now transformed. His name had once been Ilion Thorn, but now he was known across whisper and legend as Thistledown the Winged, or simply Thistle. Thistle was not large, but neither was he meek. Cloaked in night-dark fur, wearing a hat 2 sizes too big and often lopsided from his swoops and dives, he carried an obsidian staff knotted with silver runes and crowned with a moonstone that pulsed with soft blue light. His tower was filled with scrolls of starlit language, potions brewed with eclipse dust, and glass spheres humming with the dreams of owls. For years he had kept to himself, content to chart the patterns of the stars and speak with ghosts in the wind. But all that changed when the moon failed to rise. It began on the night of the silver silence, when all sounds beneath the sky ceased for exactly 7 heartbeats. No crickets. No wolves. Not even the rustling of trees. Just stillness. Thistle had been hanging upside down from a wooden perch, meditating and communing with a nocturnal spirit named Vesper, when the silence struck. Then came the pain, a sharp tug in his chest, as though something ancient and tethered to his very core had been cut loose. He flapped free from his perch, staff clutched tightly, and soared up through the tower's central shaft. At the highest window, a perfect circle facing the moon wreath, he found only darkness. No silver orb. No stars. No sky. Just an endless stretch of velvet black. "The moon is gone," said Vesper, who had followed silently, her form a swirl of grey mist and feathers. "And with it, your kin." Thistle blinked. "The night-bound." She nodded. "Vanished from their keeps. All of them. Their lights flicker no more in the west, nor in the dream warrens below." Thistle quivered on his perch. He may have become a solitary creature, but the other night-bound wizards had been his brothers and sisters in magic, fellow humans who had taken the Chiromancer's oath and undergone the great mold to become beings of shadow, sky, and spell. "Then I must find them," he said, voice rasping like wind in old leaves. "Even if I must fly beyond the stars." He began with the Codex of Hollow Wings, the first book ever written by the founder of the Nightbound, a blind sorceress bat named Halvina. In it, Thistle found mention of a place beyond the visible sky called the Umbral Fold, a nether realm where light bends inward and time coils like smoke. To reach it, one needed 3 things. A feather from a moonshade owl, long thought extinct. A drop of blood from the first night. And a key made from the bone of a starlit whale. None of these things were easy to find. But Thistle had never chosen the easy flight. First, he sought the owl. The hollow glade was said to be cursed, a silver forest that grew only at night and vanished by day. Its trees were glassy and silent, their leaves like mirrors. Thistle had been there once, long ago, and nearly lost his mind to the reflections that whispered his name. Now he returned, staff aglow, wings steady, and thoughts focused. "Moonshade owl," he whispered. "Come to me, silent hunter. I seek you not to harm, but to save." The wind answered first, soft and rustling, not of leaves, but of feathers. Then, from the mirrored canopy, descended a great bird. Silent. Elegant. Eyes like planets. She spoke. not aloud, but into his thoughts. "Why do you wake the watchers, little bat?" Thistle bowed. "Because the moon is gone, and with her, the balance of night. I seek to find her, and the others who have vanished." The owl blinked once. Then twice. Then, with a graceful movement, she plucked a feather from her breast and offered it. "Take this, and remember, not all who follow the moon return unchanged." And with that, she vanished. Thistle clutched the feather tightly. The next item, blood from the first night, was kept in a bottle hidden within the vault of Time's End, deep beneath the world in the forgotten ruins of Chronomia. To get there, he would need to ride a current of memory and shadow, an old trick of the night-bound called the thread walk. But first, he had to descend into his own past, for the entrance to Chronomia was locked with a question only his former self could answer. And Thistle had not seen Eleon Thorn in a long, long time. But the Nocturne of Umbrafel. Part 2, The Echoes of Chronomia Bat. The hollow glade faded behind him, swallowed by mists that clung to memory like dew on old bark. Clutched in his clawed paw was the moonshade owl's feather, glowing softly with a bluish tint, pulsing in rhythm with Thistle's own heartbeat. The first step was complete. Now came the harder part, entering the vault of Time's End and obtaining a drop of blood from the first night. To reach Chronomia, the ancient city that once ticked with the heartbeat of the world, Thistle needed to thread walk. The spell was forbidden for most, for it didn't just carry one through memory, it wove the traveler into memory, risking entanglement in past selves and shadows long thought dead. Back in Umbrafel, Thistle prepared the ritual. He drew a circle of crushed starlight on the chamber floor, lit 12 candles made from dusk wax, and placed the owl feather at the center. He whispered the spell of unsealing, and from the tip of his staff unraveled a shimmering silver thread. With a breath, he looped it around his ankle. Then he spoke the ancient phrase. "Let the thread be drawn. Through memory worn. Across echoes forlorn. Let Eleon be reborn." A flash. A pulse. The tower spun. The world fell away. He was no longer Thistle. He was Eleon Thorn again, barely 18, a student of the Grand Academy of Shadowlight. Human. Soft-skinned. Wide-eyed and unscarred. The sky above was filled with falling stars, and the air smelled of fire and new beginnings. He remembered this night. The night of the pact. The moment he had met the night-bound order, and given up his human form in exchange for wings and ancient knowledge. And just ahead, at the edge of the crater where the comet had struck the sea and birthed the great mirror lake, stood his former self, watching the sky, waiting for a sign. But Thistle wasn't here to relive old choices. He was here for the key question. He glided unseen through the edges of memory, until he found what he needed, a moment frozen in time, hidden behind the conversation between Eleon and his mentor, Magister Silver. Silver had asked a single, final question before allowing Eleon to take the oath. "What is it you fear losing the most?" And Eleon had whispered. "The sound of my own voice in the morning sun." It had seemed poetic then. Melancholic. But now, centuries later, Thistle realized, this was the lock. He murmured the phrase aloud, letting it wrap around the thread tied to his foot like a knot. At once, a door opened before him, shimmering with violet flame, formed not of wood or stone, but of seconds and breaths, counting forward and backward at once. Beyond it lay Chronomia. The vault of Time's End had no roof, for its ceiling was the night sky itself, perfectly preserved in its final moment, stars glimmering, unmoving, like an eternal exhale. Broken cogs floated midair. Clock towers leaned like tired old trees. Water in fountains hung frozen, each droplet glowing within a light. Thistle walked carefully. Time was thin here, and wrong steps could shatter it like glass. He found the vault at the base of a tower labeled Yesterday's Spine. The door was locked with a dial that displayed emotions instead of numbers: joy, rage, curiosity, grief. Thistle hesitated, then selected grief. The door creaked open, and he descended. Inside the vault was a small, petrified star in a crystal dome, the source of the first night's blood. It pulsed slowly, like a sleeping god. A single crimson tear floated beneath it in a bottle of unmelting ice. But guarding it was a creature of timeless design, a chronogolem, woven of glass and hourglass sand, with eyes like swirling spirals. Name, it croaked. Thistledown, the winged thistle replied. Time of origin: unknown. Threadwalker. The golem's head tilted. Purpose: I seek a drop of the first night's blood, to open the umbral fold and restore the balance of moonlight. The golem was still for many heartbeats. Then, in a voice softer than before, you carry a wound of time. You are not what you were. I know, said Thistle. But I must become more than what I am. The golem nodded once. Then choose, the blood, or your past. The crystal dome split into two paths. One led to the tear of blood. The other, to Elion's voice, the part of himself he had lost when he chose the wings. For a moment, Thistle paused. Then he turned from the voice. With the second item secured, Thistle walked back to Umbrafel. It cost him another year of his life, time unraveled and given to the winds, but he returned stronger, more certain. Now he needed only one thing, a key made from the bone of a starlit whale. But such creatures had been extinct for millennia, or so it was believed. Until the glass spheres in his tower began to sing. They rang like bells, one by one, until every orb in the observatory shimmered with sound and light. Inside the largest one, shaped like a snow globe, Thistle saw the image of a vast, ghostly whale gliding through a nebula of dream mist. The vision spoke in the voice of the stars. Come to the drowned sky. Beneath the ocean's breath. Where light forgets. And bones still sing. Thistle's eyes gleamed. The drowned sky, a region beneath the sea where night and water became one. Dangerous. Forgotten. But if the starlit whale still existed anywhere, it would be there. He packed the two relics he had acquired, cast a breathless bubble spell around his body, and took flight, into the clouds, then diving like a comet down, down, down into the sea. He entered the ocean like a blade of silver. The water closed around him like curtains of silk, and the surface world faded into silence. Below, the coral glowed with memories, and the fish whispered in forgotten tongues. Down he flew, deeper than the sun dared reach, until he passed the point where light surrendered and the drowned sky began. There, he saw it. A whale the size of a cathedral, its bones gleaming through translucent flesh, covered in constellations that pulsed like heartbeats. It turned its massive head toward him and spoke without words. Night's child, why have you come? Thistle floated in reverence. The moon is gone. The balance broken. I seek the umbral fold. And what will you give in return? Thistle paused. Then lifted his staff, and broke off the moonstone at its top. The whale inhaled slowly. A high cost. But worthy. It reached one fin into the darkness and drew forth a rib, shaped by ages, bathed in starfire. Take it. May you open what was sealed, and find what was lost. Back in Umbrafel, Thistle laid the 3 relics upon the floor, the owl feather, the drop of night blood, and the star whale bone. He drew a triangle between them, and spoke the final words. By wing and wound. By time and tide. Let the fold be opened. Let the veil divide. The tower shook. Wind screamed. The walls of reality peeled back like paper. And there, in the center of the spell circle, a door opened, not of stone, not of time, but of shadow, lightless and alive. Thistle stared into it. Beyond lay the umbral fold. And the fate of the moon. Part 3, The Heart of the Fold Bat. The door to the umbral fold shimmered like black silk in candlelight, rippling with dreams and gravity. Thistle down the winged, last of the night-bound, hovered before it, his fur bristling, wings half-folded, and staff humming despite the absence of the moonstone. His breath came in quiet bursts, frosted by the unnatural chill that seeped from the doorway. He had come far. Through memory and time. Through silence and starlight. Through oceans of darkness and songs of ancient beasts. Now he stood at the threshold of the place no being had entered in 10,000 years. Here ends the known world, murmured Vesper, the owl spirit who had followed him faithfully. And what lies beyond has no name. Thistle touched the bone key to the doorway. It hissed, shimmered once, and unzipped like a wound in the sky. He flew forward. The fold was wrong. It was neither place nor dream, neither thought nor form. Shapes shifted before comprehension. There were rivers made of reversed time, trees that grew into the past, and beasts with eyes made of clocks that refused to tick. The sky had no direction. The ground had no certainty. But Thistle had trained for such chaos. The Nightbound were masters of shadow, and the fold, for all its strangeness, was still cast from night's breath. He whispered a spell to bind his form, a chant of orientation, born from the stars, and slowly, reality bent to his will. He chose a direction and flew. He followed the fragments of moonlight. They floated here and there, faint as candle smoke, drifting like broken souls. They were pieces of something greater, remnants of the moon's spirit, fractured in this place like shards of glass. Thistle gathered them as he flew, storing them in his staff's hollow. As he moved deeper into the fold, the shadows around him began to whisper, not in words, but in memories. One night, he flew past a mirror that showed him himself as Eleon, not the boy who took the oath, but the man he might have become had he never joined the Nightbound. Happy. With friends. With sunlight. Thistle shivered and flew on. Another time, he saw an entire village of Nightbound trapped in a spiral of dream loop, reliving their final moments over and over. He could not save them, the spell was ancient and woven too deep, but he whispered their names as he passed, so that someone still remembered. At last, he came to the heart of the fold. It was a garden of dead stars. Great celestial bodies hung frozen mid-collapse, petals of starlight crumpled and suspended in time. And in the center of this silent catastrophe floated a figure, tall, luminous, feminine, yet fractured. A pale face. Long silver hair drifting like moonlight in water. Her chest pulsed with a jagged hole through which the void breathed. It was Selunera, the moon's spirit. And she was dying. Thistle approached slowly. "Great lady," he whispered. "I have come to bring you home." Her eyes opened. They were galaxies, beautiful and ancient. But they flickered. "One comes, at last," she breathed, her voice the tide of night. "But I am broken. The fold holds me. I cannot return. Not whole. I have gathered your shards, Thistle said, lifting his staff. From the skies. From the oceans. From the dreams of beasts. I will make you whole. She trembled. To rebind me, is to unbind yourself. The fold must take one. One must stay. Thistle closed his eyes. The pull of the fold was already upon him, stronger now, hungrier. It wanted memory. It wanted identity. Take me, he said softly. Let the moon rise again. Vesper gasped behind him. Thistle, no. You'll vanish. Fade. Become less. He turned to her, and smiled, a tired, brave smile. I was always a shadow. A remnant. This is the end I choose. He began the spell. The bone key was placed at Selunara's heart. The feather from the moon shade owl at her crown. The blood of the first night, poured at her feet. He spoke words no tongue had uttered in 1,000 years. Words that pulled reality into shape, that twisted death into rebirth. The starlight shards within his staff flew into her chest. She screamed, not in pain, but in awakening. Light burst from her. Silver. Eternal. The fold trembled. Thistle staggered, his body unraveling. His memories fluttered away like autumn leaves in a gale. The tower. The glade. Ilion's voice. Vesper's wings. All drifting from him. And still he chanted. The moon rose. Above the world, beyond the clouds, the silver orb returned, whole and radiant, casting beams of gentle light over the sleeping earth. All who dwelled beneath it stirred. The wolves howled. The crickets sang. The stars realigned. And in the Tower of Umbrafel, the scrolls uncurled. The candles flared. The glass spheres wept with joy. But Thistledown the winged, was gone. Or so it seemed. For on the highest spire of Umbrafel, when the moon is full and the winds are quiet, a small shape can sometimes be seen, hanging upside down, cloaked in night fur, whispering spells to the stars. He no longer remembers his name. But the sky remembers him. And the moon never forgets. Crescent Moon, the end.